In fact, it's hard to forget something you know. Well, the password is you can't remember something you don't know. That's why it's fundamentally wrong, right? But the other thing is, since we have tons of unforgettable memories and associations, then you can have unlimited password replacements.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Dr. Alex Natividad, who's based in Amarillo, Texas. He's the CEO at NimbusID. Welcome, Alex. Good to have you on.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me here.
Good name. So now NimbusID is all around a software system for the creation and authentication of your identity without using a password. And we're so used to passwords all the time. We hate managing and tracking passwords. So this is such an interesting topic, but you're a physician. You're an active psychiatrist physician, and you're taking neuroscience to the cybersecurity space. Help me understand, Alex, take me back. Like, where did you start to discover and look at this problem and try to attack it from a different perspective?
Okay, Alex, in this journey, there's always a reason for finding a solution. Years back, I was hacked and I got lagged out, and it was very difficult to come back, and it happened many times. So I said, you know what, enough of this. I got to find a solution. Now, I'm not a tech guy. I don't know tech actually, but I did a research. And so I looked for authentication, identity, access, credential two-factor. You know what? I got confused. But one thing I realized in my search is we are led to believe when you access your account, only you can access your account. But in reality, it does allow you to access your account and someone else. Well, that's not good. And so I figured password is a very difficult concept to remember. So I figured there's got to be a problem. Now, if you look at the technology, password is merely a credential that you possess. It's something that you assert as if it's you, but it's actually not you.
It's just a string of ID. It's numbers or letters. Like
it is just something of something, right? It doesn't even represent it's you. So in my search, what I realized is the problem fundamentally is the server controls the proof of it's you. But the problem with that is if it's a server controls the concept of proving it's you, they just hack the server or the device. Game over, right? Secondly, the user is required to enter something that when it matches whatever is stored in the server, access is provided. It doesn't matter who you are, as long as it matches, access is provided. It's a validation. So the question is, I thought I'm proving myself. Well, it's not. So when I began this journey, the first thing that came to my mind is, if I have to prove myself to the device, what should it be? The only thing that I know was unique between the two of us and anyone else is what's inside my head. As a neuroscience guy, how I think is the way I think. I don't think you can tell me how I think. No, I cannot tell you how you think.
You're saying basically the way our brains work are almost like our thumbprints, that each of us are unique in a way that it can't be identified.
Exactly. The thumbprint and DNA is unique in the physical space. No problem with that. Across the web, it's opaque. You got to find a way that's still unique and applicable to you that cannot be impersonated. So my thinking is unique. So I'll give you an example. When we were born, our brain or through our mind allows us to experience mom and dad, the toys and the house and everything else, right? You begin to develop these memories. We call that experiences and associations, right? So the things that I see comes from the back of our head called occipital lobe. So this is a rectangular object. I see rectangular. But guess what? This is an iPhone that my wife gave me as a gift in our anniversary gift, September 5th. That guy here, the parietal lobe, makes that story there. It associates the story behind a rectangular object. Altogether, what we see, what we associate, the guy here is a frontal lobe. It makes the final interpretation of the things we know about externally. Now, the question is, we have all these unique contextual associations that we know. Can I teach a system to get those unique associations projected to me during authentication so that I can be the only one to connect the dots? And I'm done.
So you're basically creating a system to pull out these unique connections that are already in our brain, show it to us, and then only we would recognize, oh, this and this and this resonate with me because it's somewhere in my brain. And so that's the password.
It's something that you already know. In fact, it's hard to forget something you know. Well, the password is you can't remember something you don't know. That's why it's fundamentally wrong, right? But the other thing is, since we have tons of unforgettable memories and associations, then you can have unlimited password replacements, right? So every time you come in, you get shown different objects and associations, connect the dots. Next time it's different. Every time it's different. So the question of phishing is gone.
So there's a similarity when you first described this to me that popped in my head was when you're with government or certain things, it'll show you, did you own a vehicle in X? Or did you used to live here? Or is your mother's name X or Y? It sounds like that's also like only you would know, but the data is public. So what you're trying to say is instead of just public data that it's pulling from, it's actually just data or memories or thoughts that are from your brain.
That is correct, Alex, except that is what you call unidimensional memory. It's yes or no answer. Our system is multidimensional. So it is a series of contextual associations that you got to know everything. So this one is hey, did you live in that street before? Yeah, it's easier to answer that. It's easier to fish that data. Ours, you can't. It's something that you have in your own decades of long ago memory that becomes intuitive to you once you know it. So I'll give you an example, if I may. So let's just say, hypothetically, let's create a story, okay? Julie Gomez is my girlfriend from high school in 1975 in Dallas. She gave me a pen upon graduation and she became a golfer in college. Now, some people might know that, but the whole story, it's hard to know. So the question is, we have a system that takes all this collected information, we hash it when we disaggregate that, and then when you come in to authenticate, we just bombard with you with objects and noise, and some are true or some are false. It's up to you to connect the dots. You just click them 3 times and you're done. How easy is that?
So part of it is extracting the data out of your brain. I'd like to dig into that in a moment. Then the other piece, of course, is when you're looking at it, how quick is it? And will you ever forget these memories? Like, I'm just like pondering in my own brain of like, will you easily make that connection? Or how much brain power does it take to look through and scan for it to?
Actually, the best part is all these memories that we have that happened many years ago are actually durable and enduring. They don't go away. In fact, they are so strong that if you compare to my memory last week, because it's just happened at simple events, they don't mean anything to me. But things that are so meaningful, you just can't forget that. Things that you did in grade school with your friends, all these favorite places. It's there with you. In fact, if you see a classmate of 50 years ago, for instance, that you haven't seen many years, you immediately recognize that person and the things you guys did together. I mean, it's hard to forget that. Whereas in this password, you can't remember.
How do you? What's the process then of extracting these memories?
So the first part is when you create an account as a user. You simply go back to your memories in the past, you enroll 3 stories, and it's up to us to pick them apart and pull them together and show it to you on authentication. It takes about probably 2 minutes to create an account, and you're done. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to reset. It's all there.
So you're giving 3 stories, and then it picks it apart and then just is able to show you a tiny piece of it that you would immediately recognize as, oh, that's that story, and everything else is.
So in the example of the Julie Gomez story, we will show you 4 objects on top, names. Like Julie Gomez is one of them, and the 3 names are just fake noise objects. And below that are 14 associations about Julie Gomez. So on the 14 associations, say golfer is one of them, right? And then the rest 13 associates are fake. You just click golfer. Next shot, click another Dallas High School. Next shot, 1975. Okay. And you're done.
Okay. So interesting. It starts with the person, which is actually helpful. That you first think about a person, and then what are the all associations connected to that person? That does come pretty naturally. Now, if I may, Alex, I'm going to come from another perspective here. A lot of people or the adoption of the technology itself is in the
biometric
face recognition. Yeah, biometric. Why are you not a fan of biometric?
Well, biometrics such as your face ID, your touch, voice print, or iris, the problem with that is they're static. If they're spoof copied, how do you reset? You can't, because it's fixed, right? So number one. Number two, you require a device to make that work. So a device is a mere possession of a person using the device to authenticate. Well, to me, we need a proof of test or identity test of the human behind the device that's being used to authenticate. So it's one step better. In fact, I can prove it's you with any device as long as you coming in.
As long as you bring your brain.
As long as you're not integrated, but you can still think, right?
Right. Now the use cases for this, you're going after effectively enterprise solutions where they want to apply this to across their board. Like, what's kind of the next step for NimbusID? What are you looking for?
So in the short term, what we're trying to do is to improve the user experience and adoption rate of 2-factor. Right now, 2-factor is thought to be a level of higher security, but adoption rate is low. We think that if we add this as the preferred 2-factor authentication, then because it's just merely click, you cannot make a mistake, you don't copy a code, then I think adoption rate might improve. And so that is our initial take. And then long term is we could be a technology to be licensed by other authentication technology companies.
So it's realizing that there is already a wave of 2-step authentication. It truly is a great way, but most people don't want to do it because what if I forget my phone or I don't have that secondary device or remembering it? And that's where your current application is this is a secondary, but eventually that it could stand alone without even needing a password that someone could use this technology.
Well, absolutely. The concept behind a 2-factor is because your first factor is weak and vulnerable. If you use this as a first factor, there's no really need to have a second factor. So, but we cannot claim it that way for now because we need some adoption. So once people use this, the question is, why wouldn't I need another factor?
True. So for you, when you look at the world of cybersecurity, what are you, if you could kind of wave a magic wand and have any kind of solution come into play, how do you see the future? Like what are we going to be experiencing when we're going in interacting with our technology around us?
So I will go, this is going to be a big statement. The current technology that is being deployed is the so-called passwordless authentication, meaning I have to rely on whatever device I have as my identity. The problem with that, I'll give you an example. Let's say your device. Are you familiar with the SIM hijack? So instead of spoofing your phone, they go to the telco and pretend it's you, change your SIM. Now it's owned by a hacker. So whether you like it or not, the future, I think, has to be some form of identity test of a human person breathing, not a bot, that is attempting to access to an account across the web, not just non-human. Does it make sense? Because all these technologies we have can be bot enabled. What's the point? So when I have to send, for instance, $1 million elsewhere, I just want to be sure it's me doing that and nobody else. That's a big money.
Yeah, I do love the concept of that our brain can be the password of, or the stored memories that are in there. But probably the biggest thing is changing behavior is hard. Changing the way we do things takes time and sometimes external push. But there's so much in the news right now with hacking on so many levels. For that solar hack, and there was actually that recent pipeline, the gas pipeline. Yes, and it's simply because hackers are getting smarter and being able to hook in. But theoretically, if they could hack a password, but they can't get to beyond that next piece of authentication, because, well, you did mention that it is hashed, but so is that data ever stored anywhere that they could unhash it and understand what are the three pieces?
Actually, Alex, that's a good question. The way we collect your data and we connect it to you, I don't connect it to Alex, for instance. We don't couple your data with you. We just couple that with a UUID, a universal unique identifier. We don't need your email. I don't need your place of address or any more PII. That's the beauty of that. So even if you happen to know all the data, it doesn't pertain to you. It pertains to a specific number. So stolen identity is not even applicable.
As if they're trying to find a person, that person in the passwords hashing doesn't exist. It's not labeled as an individual. It's just when you go to authenticate, when you are asked the password and you give it, then it finds the correct UUID, whatever it is, and says,
correct.
Yes, that is
correct. So when you create your account and eventually log in, we know it's your brain doing that without knowing your PII, because your brain is unique the way it works. So therefore, your identity is not scattered all over because it's just a piece of number. That makes sense? So we are thinking way ahead that to prove it's you, we don't need anything else other than the way you think or how you think what you know.
When I know right now you're focused on two-step authentication, so someone would first enter their email address into like Microsoft or Teams, being able to log in, and then they would go to another page. And is that just simply that push from email to, I guess, the pop-up or whatever that comes, and you just choose your experience? Is that the flow?
Yeah. So once you're able to, based on your service provider's requirement. So for instance, you have a username, okay? Once you enter a username, it goes to this algorithm. Eventually, it comes to us, and then it shows on your screen what to click on those three objects, and you're done. Next time, it's different.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, for kind of walking us through both from your journey that you've been on of coming from cybersecurity at a whole other perspective from neuroscience, and this whole system that you're building. And again, for those out there, if you're looking probably in the enterprise space, I think you're mostly thinking about healthcare and finance, and you're looking for a whole new passwordless, or rather using your brain to do it as a two-step authentication, then go to NimbusID.com, NIMBUSID.com, and they'll probably give you a shout. Is that a good first step?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Alex, and have a good Friday.
And everyone, we'll see you on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.